In this tutorial, we're going to look at mixing a live drum kit using UAD plugins. And we're going to go for a tight 80s sound with reverb. Everyone has their own order for processing drums. Here, we'll start with the room mics, then add in the overheads and finally the spot mics. In solo, the stereo room has captured a good balance, but it lacks shine and overall cohesiveness. We could use compression to improve the cohesiveness, but a convenient alternative is tape emulation, and what better than the Studer A800. The Studer A800 plugin includes a number of tape formulations, and Ampex 456 at 15 inches per second is excellent for drums. First, load the 456 15 IPS preset from the Ultra Linear folder. Next, adjust the calibrated level to +9 for a hotter level. Now increase the input and reduce the output to taste, here about +12 dB and -12 dB respectively. Finally, reduce the bias slightly to restore some high frequencies. Let's A/B the results. Next up, overheads. The original overhead sound is nice and close, but is dominated by the snare hit and a harsh ride cymbal. We can improve this considerably with the right type of compression. The Teletronics LA2A Leveler collection contains 3 models of this classic compressor from different eras. And the very earliest LA2A has the perfect colour. Simply load this and tweak the peak reduction and gain to taste. Here we're metering 6 dB gain reduction. Here's how it sounds before and after. Now the close mics. We'll use an SSL E channel strip to combine expansion and compression on the kick. Compared to gating, which silences the signal between hits, the expander offers a gentler approach, reducing the level of the snare bleed on the kick mic. Set the release quite fast, 0.2 seconds, mode to expander, range to full and adjust the threshold. Next, set the compressor to 5:1 with fast release, 0.15 seconds, and adjust the threshold for 6 dB of gain reduction, tightening up the drum. Let's do an A/B. Now, let's EQ the kick mic. Continuing with the SSL E channel on the kick, set the high frequency band to bell and boost it around 8 kHz to emphasize the attack. Use the low frequency band to boost the low end depth somewhere between 80 Hz and 120 Hz. And then use the low mid frequency band to cut between 200 Hz and 400 Hz to remove boxiness. Here's before. Here's after. For the snare EQ, load up the API 550A, which is famous for its headroom and great sound at high gain settings. All three bands offer perfectly positioned stepped frequencies and maximum of 12 dB gain. Boosts at 10 kHz on the high frequency band, 5 kHz on the mid frequency band, and 200 Hz on the low frequency bands are good starting points. Here we've added the full 12 dB at 10 kHz and 9 dB at 5 kHz and 200 Hz. Let's A/B the results. Now, let's fatten up the snare sound with parallel compression. Here, we've duplicated the snare to a new track, we could have also used an auxiliary, and loaded up a UA 1176 LN Legacy. On this legendary compressor, set the ratio to 12:1, attack to roughly 3 and release to roughly 4. Now, tweak the input level to achieve heavy gain reduction. Blend it together with the main snare for extra fatness. Here's the before and after. Finally, we can tailor both the kick and snare with an SPL Transient Designer, a tool for adjusting transient attack and sustain independently. Insert these after the existing processor in order to fully retain the enhanced transients. On the kick, we're emphasising the attack with a +6 dB setting and slightly curtailing the sustain with a -2 dB setting. On the snare, we're emphasising the attack and sustain with +6 dB on both. Here's A, and here's B. Now for some reverb. Load up the classic Lexicon 224 on an auxiliary, checking the output mix is set to wet, which is the solo setting. For a big snare sound, the Perk Plate program is excellent. But for something closer, we're using Room A. Adjust the bass reverb time down to around 0.8 seconds and the mid reverb time to around 2 seconds. Now add just enough to the snare, toms and possibly the kick to give them all a bit of space.